I messed up. I'll fix it later.
The name of the program.
Yeah, my titling.
Yeah. You also the title for one of the global star parties is wrong. It's number
Yeah, yeah.
30. I can't remember. It's the one we were on with the MSRO.
Oh, really? I gotta fix
Yeah.
that. Okay.
It's yep.
Yeah.
You talk about Maryland, Caitlin. I was born in Maryland, and I when I was 9 years old, my dad was in the military. He was in Vietnam back in the '60s, and I lived in Laurel, Maryland, near near Goddard Space Flight Center, and I got to visit there in my Cub Scout pack during when Apollo 11 landed on the moon. Our Cub Scout master was worked at Goddard.
Oh, that's so cool. My mom used to live in Laurel, Maryland
Yeah,
for her job. I'm from West Virginia, and so is she.
yeah, right. Yeah, my mom was born in West Virginia also,
Which part?
in Princeton.
Okay.
That's where my grandparents lived a lot most of their life, pretty much, and my a lot of my aunts and uncles.
Yeah, I lived in Alexandria, Virginia,
Oh, I didn't know that.
as a child, like in the mid 60s, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah, I was
like,
born in Fort Meade.
what's that?
I was born in Fort Meade, Maryland.
You were.
Mm-hmm.
You were born in a place that's named after a telescope company?
That's right. That's right. It was a fortified Meade at that time. They were really they were really obnoxious, so they had to protect themselves.
I see.
I didn't ever consider that Meade, Fort Meade, and Meade telescopes. I never thought about that before until now. Until you
Until now.
mentioned it.
That's right. That's
That's
what
now what they call their warehouse, right?
That's right.
great.
Exoplanets are very difficult to detect because they are tiny little objects orbiting very bright stars. Other telescopes are designed to be better detectors of exoplanets, but what Hubble is used for is to find, for some of them, the atmospheric composition of these exoplanets. It has to be a system that just by chance has to be aligned so that the planet is orbiting its star along the line of sight of the Hubble Space Telescope.
For doing a lot of the exoplanet observations, you have to catch what's known as a transit. One, the orbit of the exoplanet has to be such that it's going to go between you and the star it's going around. And then you have to do the timing. We can't just do an exoplanet observation whenever we want or whenever it's convenient. We have to do an exoplanet observation when it's first starting to go into the star. So they have to know very accurately the timing of that. We have to schedule it ahead of time. This is not something that Hubble can get around to when it wants to. We have to say, no, at this point in time, on this date, you have to be pointed here and you have to be looking here.
When that planet passes in front of its star, the starlight, some of it is blocked by the planet, but some of it comes through the outer ridge, the outer rims of the atmosphere of that planet on its way to the Hubble telescope. Some of that light is absorbed by whatever is in that atmosphere, and it is absorbed at very particular frequencies that correspond to the atoms and molecules that are in the atmosphere of that exoplanet. Then when the Hubble telescope receives that light, and we take it in usually with a spectrograph, we get the light, we spread it out into its constituent colors or wavelengths of light, and we can tell which of those wavelengths have been absorbed. And that tells us by the pattern of spectroscopy, what are the elements and molecules that are found in the atmosphere of that planet. Hubble has detected things like sodium and hydrogen, and even evidence of methane and water vapor by using transit observations of exoplanets and measuring not only that composition, but also the height of the atmosphere, which can tell us something about how heavy the atmosphere is, and that tells us something about its composition as well. Hubble was the pioneer in doing that, and now other observatories are also using the transit technique to analyze the atmospheres of exoplanets.
Okay, everybody. This is Scott Roberts here today, and I'm with Jerry Hubble and Caitlin Ahrens. And Caitlin, I don't see your video there. There she is. There she is. Okay, I'll bring everybody on now. But anyhow, still learning some of the ins and outs of the audio system here. Even with Richard Grace's settings and everything, I can run one show and it's one way, and I turn it down the other way, and so it's just I don't quite understand the mysteries of audio broadcasting. But anyhow. I did want to bring up that, that we have a new program that will be coming on pretty soon with Caitlin Ahrens, and it's called 7 Months of Science. And I thought maybe you could talk about that a little bit, Caitlin. And hello?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
yes.
there we go.
Okay. There was a bit
Did I
of a
mess
delay
up
there.
her audio too?
Yeah, that's a little bit of dead air. You don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
It's all good now. Now I can hear you.
Okay, we're good. We're all good.
All right. We're all
Caitlin,
good.
how are you anyways? I mean, I know you've been busy. I think it's really cool you're putting this program together. Was this, I think I asked you earlier, but was this your brainstorm to create this program, or how did it come about?
This came about where our astronomy club back in West Virginia, called the Central Appalachian Astronomy Club, we've been having meetings on the side, virtual, no less. By every June, July, we tend to have a huge star party at the Green Bank Observatory. And unfortunately, because we're still at the bitter end of quarantine and whatnot, and thankfully vaccinations are coming out,
Right.
we still had to cancel our event for the summer just to still be safe, and certainly to those at the Green Bank Observatory as well. But in this case, we still wanted the excitement of astronomy and bring that about to the public,
Sure.
certainly for a virtual event. So that way we can attract everybody from different time zones,
Mm-hmm.
different types of astronomers. We definitely want this to be a very interesting event to get ready for StarQuest 2022. Dates yet to be confirmed, but we are still set, at least with the Green Bank Observatory,
Oh,
to
wow.
have StarQuest, our
Wow, that would be
actual star party.
that would be
So
very cool to have a star party at Green Bank. So,
it's
uh,
very dark skies down there because
hmm,
you're also in a radio quiet zone too. So definitely not a lot of light pollution down there, which is fantastic dark skies. And StarQuest will have a lot of astrophotographers
mm-hmm.
down there as well. We tend to have classes. We'll have children's activities there as well. Certainly a full day of lectures, and we'll have keynotes and so on. So it's going to be a really exciting event. But in this case, this is more of our way of getting people excited on a virtual platform, at least.
Right. Now, I've been to a radio telescope. I went to the FAST telescope in China, and I remembered that you couldn't bring anything electronic up there at all. That it was no cell phones, no a bunch of stuff, except that for some reason they let us take video and use our not make phone calls, but actually take photographs and stuff like that. But I found it very interesting, Caitlin, that they were doing a lot of work by having it was either donkeys or mules pull things around. And, so it was like when they wanted radio silence, that meant no running, no combustible engines, nothing, it was like that.
You
What's
think
it
they
like?
bought some Teslas? You think they bought Teslas now to run around there? Ever puts
I
out
don't
EMI
think so.
maybe?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But what's it like at Green Bank? Are there times when it's truly radio silence like that, or?
It can certainly feel like that for sure. So your cell phone can at least turn on. It could be used as an alarm clock, and that's probably about it for its function. I
Oh,
but
so everything else is like blocked and won't even work, correct?
Correct. So you can barely use your GPS to get there if you're good. If you know, but as long there's signs everywhere, thankfully, and
Yeah.
also the Green Bank telescope is large enough that you're driving down the road and you see it, and you're like,
And you
ah,
see,
it's that direction. So it's
right?
really not that hard to get to. But there's a barricade where to a certain point, certainly past the visitors center and past a lot of the offices that they have there, you get to that barricade and
Hmm.
your car can no longer go past that point. You have to use diesel vehicles, so that way no electric sparks from your car can offset any signals
Oh,
either.
wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
so they keep things
Interesting.
very strict down
Radio
there.
silence. So someone's asking, is there like a small town nearby that's all radio silence as well?
There are, yes, yes, absolutely, and the folks down there, I love it by all means. It's very interesting to get away from just the technology for a little bit. So yes, there are landlines. Landlines are still being used down there.
Wow.
Yes, phone cards are definitely a thing down there. They have to use very specialized microwaves given by the observatory. So it's a very large piece of equipment of a microwave. But yes, so
Oh
you
my
can't just
God.
go to Lowe's and get a microwave and bring it back. Nope, you have to
Yeah,
use
you're
a
not
very
going to Best
specialized.
Buy.
No, by all means, no. You are not going to miss
Wow.
by at all. It gets to a point though that if they find any sort of leak, radio leak from anything, they will go to your house in what looks like a Ghostbusters uniform,
What?
with all the wires and the antennas, and they'll scope out like what's the leak? Where's the leak?
Where is it at?
And oh my goodness. Well, I met this lovely elderly lady who had them come to her house one day, and it turns out it was her dog bed.
Her dog bed?
Her dog bed was actually leaking radio waves just strong enough that the telescope blocks away was actually picking up that signal. So they replaced her dog bed with a certified radio quiet dog bed, which
How-
you wouldn't think is a thing. Yes.
Were there
have-
electronics in this dog bed? I mean,
It was a heated dog bed.
heated.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
it's
see.
Heated,
got-
yeah.
yeah, I'm sure. That's why we
Yeah.
go through the expensive EMI RFI testing we do for the PMC8, Scott, so we can run it in the
At Green Bank?
in
Is
Green
that,
Bank, right? Yeah. No.
is that true? That's not true, is it?
No, we
Jared?
do. So we do tests for emissions. We don't do susceptibility testing, which means we can get impacted by something outside. But
Yeah.
I imagine, I don't know what the requirement is to be there with the system, but we do that testing.
We should send one to Green Bank and see how it works. See if it'll pass.
That could get interesting.
Or
with this.
hide it into a dog bed or something like that and see if they can find it, So
Easter eggs. Absolutely, Easter eggs.
Yeah, they didn't
The
feel like
PMC
spending
would
the
have to
money.
actually fit in one of those big Easter egg things, but
You bury it. There's woods. There are
I
woodlands
like the way you
everywhere.
think, Caitlin. So, what was the other question? Mike Wiesner wanted to know. He said, "What about cameras with Wi-Fi and NFC and telescopes that use Wi-Fi?" Well, we were kind of talking about some of them. We don't know about all the different telescopes out there, but it might be interesting to try to control a PMC8. Although, it would be the tablet or something too. That would be the kind of the equation there. But enough of that. We know it needs to be radio quiet up there, and I think it's very cool. And I think it's also ultra cool how dark it is at Green Bank. So, do you already know what your first program will be on 7 months of science?
Yes, I am so excited for our first speaker, which will be May 12th at 7 p.m. Eastern. So our first speaker is going to be Paul Knightley, who is a student at the Arkansas Center for Space and Planetary Science. A couple summers ago, he, which ended up being like a huge month-long expedition for him.
Mhm.
But what's cool is that he got to do a test run in the middle of nowhere, Canada, in the Canadian wilderness, in this habitat that the Canadian Space Agency actually built, and had people actually simulate themselves to be Martian astronauts. So they had hardly any communication to the outside world. They had tasks that they had to do. They had certain equipment that they had to use and live all in this little habitat bubble that was truly in the middle of nowhere in Canada. So he's going to be talking about his experiences on being a Martian astronaut, and certainly what all the tests that he got to do. He had to also test out the spacesuits that they gave them as well. So it's going to be very exciting to hear his story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm interested in that. That's for sure. I had an earlier conversation with John Briggs, which I'll talk about this later, but he's going to have a presentation tonight on the Global Star Party about staying over the winter in Antarctica and what that was like. And so we had this big conversation about how staying in a place like that, okay, and like your speaker, subjecting yourself to this kind of isolation, because when we get astronauts to Mars, it's going to be very much like that. It's going to be very isolated, and it really makes me wonder, and maybe there's a lot of psychological studies that go on when you're doing these kinds of tests. How do people, behave during those times? Do you become some sort of neurotic, person, or do you somehow learn to deal with it? So I think it's an unusual person that can do that.
I'm sure they've spent a lot of time studying the exploration of the 1800s of people that went up, and because they were really truly isolated from everybody, because they didn't have any
absolutely.
communications at all.
Right.
So that's really a whole nother level in my mind, in terms of isolation.
Right. That's very true. Very true. Well, Caitlin, I appreciate you coming on to the show today. Is there anything more that you'd like to pass along before we get to Jerry here?
I don't believe so, but just keep up with Explore Scientific with
Aw,
the
thank you.
calendar,
Thank you.
and I will be producing monthly flyers with whatever speaker is of the month for our 7 months of science. And so just stay tuned.
Very, very cool. Very cool. I like that background behind you too, Caitlin. It's
Thank you. My
got a
home
lot of
office.
the heroes and adventure and all of that behind you. That's really cool. All right. Well, that's great. Jerry, I'll turn this over to you. How's everything going in the world of Open Go-To community?
Good. We've got some good stuff going on since we've released the new firmware update. The indie folks, Michael Fulbright originally wrote the indie driver for the PMC-8 back 3-4, almost 4 years ago, I guess it's been. And that the users, there's probably a good 4, 5, 6 users that use Indie, and actually it's more than that, because the ASI Air product is a Linux-based system that uses the Indie driver system. So we have a lot more people that use our PMC-8 Indie driver through the ASI Air. But Wes McDonald's been working with one fella. His name's Carroll. I can't recall his last name. I apologize. Carl's been working on doing the upgrades to the Indie driver to support the new firmware, and that's been working out pretty well. So so we've got some active development going on for the system, and it's going to pick up more in the future. So in that regard, the Open Go-To communities, I don't want to say it's thriving, but it's active.
Yeah. Oh, very good.
I did a survey. I ought to bring that up and look at the results. A few days ago, I did a survey on what their plans were for the firmware, whether they think they were going to install it or not, and if they did install it, what problems they had, or if they didn't have any problems. So let's see if I can bring that webpage. It'll take me a minute to get that up here. I'll share my screen here when I get it.
Pekka is saying he'd like to speak about USB protocol with you sometime.
USB protocol in terms of, so USB is basically serial port. And there's this, I can talk about the serial communications that goes on between the PMC-8 and the host computer. I don't know a huge amount about the actual USB hardware standard. I don't think he probably means that, but we can talk about the communications protocol for sure. Where the hell's that poll at? I'm trying to find. Oh, here we go. All right, cool. So this is the first time I've looked at it in probably 3 or 4 days. It looks like it's changed a little bit, so I'm going to bring that up. I may have shared this last week. So here it is. All right. So I asked what kind of mounts people had. Looks like even today, there's more Exos 2s out there that responded to the poll anyway compared to the IXOS 100, even though the IXOS 100's a little less expensive but the Exos 2 has been around longer, so that could be expected. So about 5% of the people say they don't plan on updating. 18% said they do plan, and then several people, 14%. That doesn't add up to 100%, but again, not everybody answered that question, I guess, or selected one of those. So the way I look at this is about 40% of the people that have already updated, of those that planned on doing it, 40% have updated their firmware. And
Okay. So this has changed since we saw it last time.
yeah, and still a majority of people have not had problems doing the update, and then only a few people had a minor problem that they could get over, they could figure it out. So that's a good sign that when you have the vast majority of people being able to do the upgrade with little or no problem, that's a good thing. Now, and we're always there to help, people that can't figure it out for some reason. It is kind of tricky. It is a somewhat technical. We're trying to make it easier as we go on. It's this hobby is just a technical hobby. I say that. I think so.
Well,
over the last year and a half,
attraction.
I've said that several times on the show, and it's
part of the attraction.
That is
hobby,
right? That's what the hobby. That's really what the hobby is about. Is not just for some people. It's just as much looking at the stars or the objects in the sky as it is to run the equipment and to learn about the equipment.
Sure.
So that's progressing. The results here are similar to what I would expect when I started the poll.
So have you found anything that about the new release that you've been disappointed in, or you're going, gosh, we should really improve on this particular aspect, or are you still feeling pretty solid about?
Well, that was the way it was about a month ago.
What's that?
When we're in the middle of the beta testing, that's when we had that stuff go on.
Yeah.
We finally, there was like 2 or 3 real subtle problems that if we hadn't had our public beta,
you might not
be lurking out there, and we would not discover it for a while, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Or because even with the previous version of the firmware, we went probably 2 or 3 years, or 2 years at least, on a couple of problems that that the customer base never ran into, and one customer configured his system a certain way or used it a certain way and discovered the issue, and luckily we were able to repeat the problem. That's the key to solving a problem, of course, is to be able to repeat it. So that's always important for anybody that's out there that has a problem. Try to describe your configuration as accurately as you can to us, and try to see if it's repeatable for yourself. It might just be a one-off thing that particular setup that you had was goofed up somehow, and when you go back to redo it again from scratch, that it's not there anymore. Try to make it repeatable for yourself, and if it is, then tell us about it, and then we'll try to repeat it on different computer systems. That's really the biggest thing that we find, Scott, is that the variation in different people's computers is really a large driver for some issues.
Mm-hmm.
We know that at a certain level, we know the hardware is the same for everybody. So unless you find a hardware problem that's really particular, it's not going to be a hardware problem. It's not. And the same way with the firmware, there's a lot of people using this firmware over the years. And so if you run into a problem and suspect it's the firmware, and you're the first one to discover it, then we're going to probably show a little bit of skepticism on that. And it's a bias. I know it's a bias, and it's maybe not such a good bias, but again, we have to start somewhere, and we have to assume what's the most likely
Well,
Basically, what's the most
maybe
likely
not
cause
so
of the problem?
skeptical, but you're going to ask a bunch of questions.
Yeah,
so-
we'll start asking questions, pointed questions
Right.
about their setup to try to see what else it could be before we start suspecting it's the firmware.
Right, right. Let's see. David Samard is saying that he said he tried this weekend to answer, but it's not working for me. Could tell you I will try to put it on this coming weekend. So,
Oh, is he talking about trying the firmware this weekend?
Yeah.
Is what he's talking about, yeah.
Andrew Corkill reports, he says he did not download, I haven't downloaded and installed the new firmware yet. I have great tracking after doing polar alignment on the Explore Scientific Losmandy G11.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything less.
David Samard says, there's no way you could replicate me. It was a mistake made 61 years ago.
Don't be so hard on yourself.
Jeez, that's tough. Yeah, we have a tough audience today,
Yeah.
so- on themselves, not us.
Themselves,
It's-
right? No, they're pretty easy on us typically because
Yes.
we try to make them that way.
Right. Pekka wants to know, is there an after party tonight? Of course there is. Of course. So we have a good lineup of course, tonight. We'll have David Levy and David Eicher. We tried to get on Stella Kafka again, but she's again kind of wiped out. This time I think it's because she's getting vaccinated, which is a good reason. And you got vaccinated too, right, Jerry?
Today,
So-
yeah, this afternoon.
Right?
Yep.
So you're supposed to be on, but
First one.
we'll see how you do.
Yeah, I feel normal right now.
You
I
feel
don't-
normal right now?
Yeah.
You
I
don't
don't
look
have
normal.
my arms not sore or anything. I'm pushed. It feels good.
So let's see. We have the schedule looks like this. Of course, David Levy starts. David Eicher comes on next. Molly Wakeling is going to do a special presentation called "How Energy is Made in the Sun." So that's pretty cool. I mentioned that John Briggs and I were having a conversation. He'll be on after Molly, and his presentation is called "The Long Night at Amundsen Scott South Pole Station." Okay, which is kind of cool. Living the Stars will be on. Chuck Allen will be on to do the door prizes from the Astronomical League. And then we'll do a 10-minute break. And then if Jerry's still standing, okay, we will have, he'll come on at 9:25. And then we have Adrian Bradley who will come on. He's got a little presentation called Moonrise, which is cool. Chuck Allen from the Astronomical League will do another one of his really amazing talks. That guy's presentations are so mesmerizing. And then Molly Wakeling will come back on to do astrophotography with us because it'll be dark in California by that time. And then about 10:20, the after party will start. And so those of you, we may have other people just kind of joining in that already have the link and are regulars on the Global Star Party. If you're not a regular and you want to come on, watch for there will be a link in the description when we go live of where you can log in for the waiting room, and you'll meet up with Ken Martz. I imagine we'll probably open the waiting room about...
What'd you call him? Ken?
Kent. Not Ken.
You said Ken Martz?
Did I say Ken Martz? Sorry, Ken Martz. I mean, Kent. Maybe there is a Ken Martz out there. I don't know.
Maybe.
I'll bet there is.
Yeah.
So anyways, if you're listening now, Ken Martz, we were not talking about you, okay? We have, no, you'll be there in the waiting room with Kent, okay? And Kent will just make sure that your video and audio is in good enough condition to go broadcast live with us. All the program is about astronomy, so you need to be on topic, and you have to present You know, it's not just some place to go and hang out, because we'll make you get up in front of the stage and say something or do something. So, but, you know, what you do, as long as it's astronomy, we're good with it, you know. So music,
Don't mistake
you know.
don't mistake astronomy for astrology. Don't think that. I know I got a
Don't
couple
put astrology in there?
I don't
Didn't
think so.
astrologers were kind of the ones that got the astronomers their jobs, though, right?
They were the first ones to really think about the stars in a certain way, of course.
Yeah. So, you know, without the astrologers, there would be no astronomers.
I had a good high school friend of mine contact me, and he says, "Are you still doing astrology?"
Oh,
I said, "No, I'm not still doing that."
I can't tell you how many times that I've been, like, even on the news with other people and stuff like that, and they call the astronomers astrologers, you know, and this is, you know, news people.
That's
So,
cringeworthy. That's when you cringe.
yeah, right. And you're trying to be all smooth and everything and kind of glide through that, but you know, you just, and you don't want to like snap their heads off. Actually, you would like to snap their heads off, but
that's right.
right?
You're gonna knock them off of that. Knock it off.
Or at least have a cream pie so you can just like throw it in their face and say, look, it's astronomy, all right? So
Yeah, the astrology cream pie. Let's make one of those.
that's right.
Put Mars in conjunction with Jupiter on there, and then in the morning.
Right. Chris Larson says, astrology people are the ones that coined the term supermoon, and it drives me nuts. But, you know, who gets the benefit from it? The astronomers do. So, you know, I'm not that hard on the astrologers, you know. So if
As long as they tell you you're going to have a good week.
those guys, the flat earth people, all of those guys, you know, so Caitlin said, Scott, don't go there. Don't go there, please. Ixnay on flat earth day.
Yeah, it's funny to watch those people.
Yes, okay. All right, so anyhow. Beatrice says they think if you talk about constellations that you're automatically an astrologist. So anyways, hey, all you guys watching right now, make sure that you tune in tonight. Okay, Global Star Party starts at 8 p.m. Central. It's our 43rd event, and you know, we'll be looking for you, and you can help us out by liking, sharing, subscribing, ringing that little bell that they have on YouTube or whatever.
That's quite a bit. 43. That's
right.
World record.
And I expect a huge audience for Caitlin's program, 7 Months of Science. You know, so I want at least 7,000 people watching live. Okay, so.
What is this? I see.
I don't know. Ken like just barged in. What's going on, dude?
Ken March is on. Ken.
My phone started blowing up that y'all were making fun of me, so I had to find out what's going on.
Well, Jerry incorrectly said that I called you Ken. He accused me of calling you Ken.
We can roll the tape. We can roll the tape on that one.
Look, I umpired baseball Friday.
Replay. I disabled the instant replay button on this broadcast.
It's already been recorded, I think, on YouTube.
I umpired some baseball games Friday night.
Okay.
Much worse than Ken. Much.
We've all been called much
worse
worse than Ken. You know, I mean, Ken's a nice thing to be called, right?
Oh, so. Just one letter off.
Yeah, it's just one letter off. That's right.
Yeah.
Mike Wiesner. I heard Ken too. Mike, you're not helping me out here, dude.
I was wondering if Scott was slurring his speech a little bit. I
do slur my speech. I do. When I worked at Mead Instruments, and they wanted to like throw me out in front of a camera, I was scared to death, you know, and I tended to slur my words a lot. It wasn't because I was intoxicated or anything, but you know, it was just because that's just the way it was. So I think I still tend to do that from time to time. Sorry about that, Ken.
So you're calling Ken a slur? Is that what you just?
What you just called me?
Is that what you just called me, a slur?
Yeah, the
Caitlin's
K-
about
the
to
K-
pass
Can't
out.
say the K word anymore.
No,
Caitlin's
the
about to
K
pass
word.
out.
Right.
Caitlin's fanning her face.
You guys are hysterical. Oh my goodness.
Well, when you get us off on a tangent, it's not hard to
Oh,
get there.
please.
Oh.
That's right. That's right.
I had a day full of meetings, and this is what I end up with. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. After all that science and everything that's going on, all that NASA stuff. What have you been learning at NASA, Caitlin?
We're coming up on something really big with NASA. Early June, and you heard it here first, folks. Early June, NASA will be selecting the next Discovery mission. So there are 4 missions in the running, and it's going to get narrowed down to 1. So Discovery missions.
Can you say what the 4 are, or is that a secret?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So the 4 in the running, I don't remember the acronyms as to what they stand for though, but we have Veritas, which is for Venus. We have Da Vinci Plus for Venus, which now that I said that out loud sounds like a vitamin, then a mission.
Yeah.
Right. You gotta have the plus. Da Vinci
And now
Plus.
with Da Vinci Plus, yes,
It has zinc and vitamin D.
yes.
All on Venus, so yeah, you're gonna need it. Then you have the IVO, which is the Io Volcanic Observatory, and then
that'll
you
be
have
interesting.
oh yeah, definitely, and then you have Trident, which is a Neptune Triton orbiter.
Oh,
nice.
wow.
Yeah,
So in our
we'll
audience
find
right
out.
here, if you had to vote, which one would you vote for?
Oh
Let's
no. Well,
This is your tax dollars at work, okay? So. Wouldn't that be
look at my
interesting?
wrist.
That's
I gotta
right.
go.
You get a phone call from the head of NASA all of a sudden. Caitlin, we need to have a serious conversation with you.
I can happily say that there are instruments with each mission that I am excited about.
Oh, wow. There you
So,
go. So you don't care
yeah.
which one goes, right?
No, not really.
No.
Not me personally. I think every mission certainly has its oohs and ahs for sure. Like for Venus specifically, with the 2 Venus missions, we haven't had a Venus mission ever. So
Ever?
at least the
Because of
United
phos-
States.
Never ever?
Is that
The
because
United
of
States has
phosphine?
never had a Venus
Oh,
specific
so we rely
mission.
on Russia's images for our images of Venus, right?
Yes, the now the Roscosmos Russian sector, and also the Europeans as well. So this will be our full-fledged American missions to Venus if they get selected. The Io one will be joining the fleet already around Jupiter, which is
Okay.
the Juno mission. We've already been there with Galileo back in the 90s. Voyager flybys, New Horizons flyby. You also have the JUICE mission from the European Space Agency coming up for the Jupiter mission as well. But Io being so volcanically active, Io would get its own mission, so that would be pretty cool. And then obviously Neptune and Triton is very exciting because Neptune never had its own mission. We had a Voyager flyby.
Yeah, we got
but-
to whisk by and take
Yeah,
a couple of
pretty-
nice photos and goodbye. So
Nice photos, yeah.
How long do you
Neptune
think
is
it'll be?
gorgeous, but
How long do you think it'll be, Caitlin, before we have orbiters around all the planets, including the planet Pluto? Well,
Dwarf humans are humans. Dwarf planets are still planets.
that's right. They're still planets.
there we go. Yes,
You think it'll be like 50
I knew there was a
years or
reason
something?
I liked you guys. No, I think unfortunately it'll take a while. Our main obvious obstacle is funding. And that's the whole shtick of it, though. But you know what? There's a lot of exciting missions coming up for NASA, though. So besides the Discovery mission to be selected in early June, we also have a lot of lunar missions coming up as well, starting at the end of this year. Actually, there is a rover that's going to go to the moon very soon. So that's going to be exciting.
that's cool.
We have a rover, I believe, the end of this year, or at least early 2022, if it doesn't get delayed. I believe 2023 has a couple coming up as well. We have the Viper rover to the South Pole of the Moon coming up as well. So that's going to be exciting. And then all of these rovers are gearing up toward our Artemis program, which is essentially going to be Apollo 2.0.
That's kind of like the surveyor
Oh,
missions.
yeah.
I guess the surveyor missions that were done in the 60s. It's the same kind of thing. The Ranger missions, I guess.
Exactly. And it's exactly the blueprints that we are using at this point is, can we scope out the potential areas that we want to send our astronauts to?
Very, very interesting. You know, the upcoming moon missions, I really wax nostalgic over it. You know, I think any of us that saw Apollo happen, you know, will feel the way that at least three of us here do. You were too young, but you know,
I wasn't even born.
You can watch old reruns of the Apollo mission.
Oh, I have.
No, I bet you have. I bet you have. But you know, I think NASA as an organization is just absolutely amazing. One of the things I find, because I'm always searching for outreach information that they have. And by the way, you know, I know that you're a NASA Solar System ambassador. I am too. Kent, are you a ambassador yet?
I am not. I probably need to make that happen.
You do that. You too, Jerry. So, but you know, the thing that's great about NASA is the quality of outreach they do, the amount of information that they put out and make freely available. So I run a lot of the videos and stuff on our programs, which I love. ESA as well. I think they compete with NASA somehow in this regard. But they all do a great job, and you know, so a really inspiring video that I just ran was you know, people who have jobs at NASA, and one of them was like a fashion designer. Another one was you know, jobs that were very unlikely, very, very unlikely that you would think, you know, I mean, you think that you would have to be like you, Caitlin, where you've studied, you know, space science, and, you know, I mean, you're a bona fide scientist, you know, so, but you've got people, they have to make the space suits, they've got to do, there's a lot of support, and to get people back on the moon is going to take tens of thousands of people, and all that energy and effort to get them back up there. And then to go to Mars will take even more, I think, so. But you know, I you know, admire that you're working at NASA. I think it's great, and we love the idea that you're coming onto our programs to talk about 7 months of science. It's going to be wonderful. And as far as SSA goes, they are allowing me to use the Global Star Party as official SSA events. So that's kind of cool.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I got 43 or 42 that I got to backlog into my schedule here. So, but yeah, that was really wonderful. And I'm going to try to get Solar System ambassadors to be an official guest host of Global Star Party at one point. So it'll be a lot of fun. Until that time, and you know, that happens every week for Global Star Party. Until those times, we will see you, and just keep looking up. And,
hey Scott,
Yeah.
Scott, hang on a second. I got to make a joke with Harold Locke.
All right,
says,
Ken.
Star Trek fashions are back in vogue. Let's just make sure that none of them are red uniforms, because that's always a bad color scheme for Star Trek characters.
Oh, is it?
Oh, they're the ones.
Is that
who
why you're
died.
wearing red today?
The security officer, yeah. The sacrificial guy right there.
Yeah,
Ken.
the security officers are sacrificial guys
Right.
on Star Trek.
Yeah.
If you
Okay.
were the only people to ever die on Star Trek were wearing red.
Really?
Yeah,
Bummer.
true. Said the guy wearing
The
red.
aliens hated us.
Well, they're always kind
Oh,
of they always have some weird name that you're never going to remember anyways, right? So they just off those guys.
Right, they were just one-offs, but they
Unless, of course, you're the
the aliens hated
co-star,
red.
and they also sometimes off them too. So
Yeah, the aliens just hated red.
yeah. Caitlin, thank you very much for being on the show. Kent, thanks for barging in, and we'll see you tonight. Kent will be your official waiting room sponsor, and and Jerry, if your arm doesn't swell up to the size of a watermelon, I hope to see you on tonight. Okay.
Yep.
Take care.
Yep.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, Caitlin. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kent Marks with Explore Scientific. Today we're going to talk about eyepieces. When you're out visual observing, the telescope is half the equation. The other half of the equation are eyepieces. The Explore Scientific family of eyepieces are waterproof, which means they're easy to clean and other atmospheric disturbances do not affect them. The eyepieces come in these decorative Wiltirian planisphere boxes, the blue one or the white one. The newest member of the family of Explore Scientific eyepieces is the 52-degree eyepiece. We developed it in response to customer requests. The other members of the family are the 62-degree eyepiece, the 68-degree eyepiece, the 82-degree eyepiece, the 92-degree eyepiece, the 100-degree eyepieces, and the astonishing 120-degree 9mm eyepiece, which immerses you in the night sky. To take a look at our family of eyepieces, or to buy them, go to explorescientific.com and click on the eyepiece tab.
All right, Scott.
Good night.
Night. I'll see you a little
We'll
later.
see you later.
Yep.